Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Cloud Conversations. It's Peter Rising here once again with my old pal, Rue Campbell. And we've got an exciting show lined up for you today with our two guests, two for the price of one today. We've got Shabaz Darr and Viktor Hedberg. But before we introduce them in detail, Rue, how are you? How's things going your end?
Yeah, not bad. Excited to do the show. Things lined up kind of funny. Kind of accidentally, as far as we're doing back-to-back shows with packed exam reference authors. So I'll tell you what, let's start talking to the guys here. Shabaz, Victor, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Very good. I've actually, I was telling Victor, I actually had a bit of an op yesterday.
Wow.
So I've just come out of hospital yesterday night. I knew I'd be back out for the next day, so I was, but I know I was looking forward to. I've obviously watched your guys' show for a while, and me and Victor were saying the other day that we're both quite looking forward to coming on because we've wanted to come on for ages.
Great! That's lovely.
Really
Lovely to
happy
hear.
to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Do feel mildly guilty that we're ambushing you straight out of hospital, but
It's that kind of my fault. And again, I was explaining to Victor that when we booked the timings of you guys, I'd not got my letter to say about my little minor op. So really, they ambushed you guys, to be fair. And I didn't want to reschedule. I knew I'd be out, and it was something to look forward to, if I'm honest with you.
Dedication.
Dedication. Hardcore dude.
We admire you very much for that. So, how are you feeling though? Are you okay? You feeling okay?
Yeah. I'm not in my usual setup of my office. We've got a downstairs bedroom, so because I can't walk much, I'm just kind of consigned to there at the moment. So I don't have my normal background or my normal mic or anything. So it feels a bit weird, if I'm honest with you, doing a podcast from here. But it's what it is.
Pete's used to. Yeah, don't get Pete started on doing podcasts from weird locations.
Well, this is a momentous occasion. I'm in my bathroom, as is not unusual, but this will be the last time I ever do it because my garden office shed is finally going to be completed this coming week. Thank goodness. So, so no more inconsistent locations and no more doing podcasts from the bathroom for those who are on visual and can see me. If you see me sort of looking confused and a bit concerned, it's because if I move slightly too much, you'll see the toilet behind me. So it's convenient if I get caught short. But I could.
You should give us a flush sound, like like radio shows. You get all these novelty noises.
Oh, you do, yeah. But that is easy to do. I could literally reach over and do so. But oh God, there it is again. Let's get the right angle. I'm normally so good at getting it out of shot.
You are. You never know.
Today, the last time I ever do it, I seem to be messing it up. My desk is an ironing board, and I've got a folding chair as well. And I've made it work all this time, but I won't be sorry to see this setup go. I really won't.
See, that's commitment. If you ask me, that is commitment.
Yeah, that's commitment and dedication. Not quite, just got out of hospital dedication. But
it doesn't compare. But anyhow, how about before we really get into things and start talking to you about what you're up to and the project with Pact, would you just like to each individually introduce yourselves? Just say who you are, what it is you do, and how you've got to where you are today, and that sort of stuff. And how about Shabaz? You go first. We'll go alphabetically.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So my name is Shabaz Darr. I'm an infrastructure master for Netcompany. Also Microsoft MVP in sort of the enterprise mobility area. Me and Rue are MVP siblings, as we like to say.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, my sort of area of expertise, I suppose, is mainly Azure Virtual Desktop, but I also do Azure Infrastructure as a Service and some security and compliance as well. So yeah, that's me. I have my own blog and YouTube and stuff like that, but I'm sure we can get into that later, I suppose. Go on, Victor, your turn.
Victor, yeah.
There we go. I got the shortcuts lined up to the correct window this time. But Viktor Hedberg, I'm a cybersecurity consultant at a cybersecurity company in Sweden called TrueSec. What I do is, what don't I do? I was about to say a lot, proactive security stuff. working with customers, a lot of health checks, a lot of security assessments of both legacy systems, on-premises Active Directory, stuff like that, and of course cloud stuff as well, Azure, AWS, GCP, trying to find out, are we secure enough, or what's happening, what's going on. I'm also a Microsoft MVP, although not in the enterprise mobility category. I'm actually in the cloud and data center, because that's where enterprise security used to be. It's since moved into, enterprise mobility, Azure, and I think there's a third category, but yeah.
Yeah, the categories can be quite confusing, can't they? Yeah, you see the same thing, Roo.
Yeah, they're weird. It's like, I don't understand why there isn't just one security, because
exactly, because identity and access goes into security, threat protection, of course, security, and then there's like security infrastructure. All of it should be a security MVP category. If you ask me,
I agree with that. I mean, I'm in Office Apps and Services, and I think that was derived from the fact that when I was awarded, I was blogging and talking mainly about Teams and SharePoint stuff, but I've evolved over time more towards the security and compliance and identity side of things. So who knows when re-award time comes up, as we all know it's looming. First and foremost, just hopefully you've done enough to get renewed. You never know for sure, do you? But hopefully you have, and see what category you end up in. Some people are dual MVPs, of course, which is always impressive that they've contributed in two categories. But anyhow, I digress. So very interested in hearing the story of how you two came together to work on the project that you've got on your plate right now, which is a book for Pact Publishing, who are absolutely great company. I've worked with them myself on 2 titles, and our previous guest, Dwayne Natrick, that's lined up perfectly, as we say. So do you just want to set the scene and sort of how you came together and how you came to be working on this project and how it's going?
So we'll do it in 2 halves. I'll start us off, and then Victor, you can finish it off. It started with me, actually. So as I said, I've been technically reviewing some of Dwayne's books that he's doing. He's doing an SC-900 and a 300. So through that, I think Pact asked him, do you know anyone who would be interested in offering the SC-400? So he reached out to me. He was like, would you be interested? I went, yeah, sure, definitely. I'll talk to them. So at the time of speaking to them, I wasn't certified in SC-400, and I didn't actually know that's the book they wanted to do. He just told me there was another security book. So anyway, so for the reason that I wasn't certified at the time, obviously I'm since then, but and also because it was my first book, they said, why don't you co-author with somebody? So I thought, okay, I'll have a look. And I was obviously looking through Twitter and stuff like that. And I actually reached out to Simon Binder, who is a very, very good person. Met him a few times. But really always gives me good advice. So I thought I reached out to him. And I knew I asked him, are you interested, or do you know anyone who might be? And he mentioned Victor, and he gave me Victor's details. So Victor, do you want to take the rest of the story?
Yeah, sure. I was just minding my own business. Watching Netflix, whatever you do on a Saturday night. Suddenly, I get a DM on Twitter from this dude I've never heard about.
I slid into his DMs as
yeah, exactly. No dick pics. No, sorry.
Nope.
But no unsolicited. No, nothing. But I was just sitting there minding my own, and I got a DM from this dude called Shabaz. He was like, "Hey, we both know Simon, and he pointed towards you, saying that you might be interested in co-authoring this book on SC-400 with me." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's do that. That'll be fun." So that's really where things kind of kicked off. We got together, we worked through the outline of the book, got that presented to the publisher, Pact. And yeah, we've been evolving our relationship as friends ever since, because we have these weekly scheduled sessions where we, how are you doing? Is everything all right? How are your chapters coming along? You need help with anything? And that's since progressed into, I kind of forced Shabaz into a meeting the other week. He was like, oh, I don't feel like it. I'm so swamped. And I was like, you need to come talk to me because we can just laugh and talk about stuff. And yeah, that's where we are right now. And it's been such a joyous, journey to been on, to get to know Shabaz, get to know the process of writing a book this way. I've never authored anything, except for some documentation, of course, or some incident reports, stuff like that. But to do it in this way has really been an eye opener and an experience I'll take with me for the rest of my life.
Awesome. And it's like, so, I'm thinking co-authors in my head. I'm thinking, well, does this translate to like a buddy comedy movie? Like you've got the two police officers and one of them is really serious and the other one's really not serious and causing all sorts of problems. How do you kind of... Sorry, on you go, Shabaz. No, I'm just wondering, how do you split the load, right? How do you work together?
Just on that buddy comedy, the problem is that we're so alike. Our sense of humours are so alike that we'd both be the ones getting into all types of shenanigans and trouble. There would be no serious one.
Love it.
I mean, it was, again, with the books, there was a number of chapters. I think it was 12, which worked out nicely. So we literally just went, right, I'll take the even ones, you take the odd ones. Oh no, I had the odd ones, you had the even ones.
Yep.
So we just did it like that because we were both comfortable with the subject matter. There wasn't anything. And what we tried to make sure we did as well was, once I'd done a chapter, before I sent it in for review, I'd let Victor have a look at it and vice versa. And we just played off each other like that. And like I said, it started off as a professional relationship, and we're like really good friends now. We talk weekly, unless it's normally me that cancels or reschedules.
To be fair, the last couple of weeks it's been on me because I've been on vacation and holidays all the time, it seems. But
but we even got the chance to meet at the South Coast Summit, which is amazing as well. So that was after the book was done, and so it was really just to finish it off with meeting each other in person was really, really good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. And so, like, I asked the same question of Dwayne, like, as you're putting together a book like this, information protections, it's massive. It's a ton of stuff, right? Because you've got records and you've got encryption and a whole bunch of stuff. Was there stuff there that, although you'd passed the exam, as you're going through the process of writing the book, what kind of new stuff did you learn and what kind of stuff was kind of eye-opening to you guys?
So I can go first. I'm not working with like the retention and records management kind of thing on a daily basis. So that's always like a nice refresher going through all the content that is out there, getting inspiration on writing the chapter. But when it comes to like encryption, information protection, that's kind of what I do when I said, working with proactive security measures. That's one of the measures I usually point at when it comes to information protection. So for me, it was, retention and the records management side of things, because let's be honest, that's not the sexiest security topic there is. How long do we want to keep this record? That's not, oh my God, this is the new bright and shiny feature.
What are you talking about? I love all that stuff.
Yeah, I know you do.
It was quite funny. What we found was there were certain chapters that we had that we'd both be like looking forward to doing because they were quite interesting. And there were chapters like I said, I've got chapter 5 next. It's on this. It's such a boring chapter. Funnily enough, for me, those are probably ones where I learned more from because I was having to, it's like we all do when we don't enjoy something, we probably don't try as hard on it. So if there's an element of that subject that I didn't like, I probably wouldn't look into it as much. So this forced me to actually do my research and make sure I was putting the relevant information in, so I probably learned more from the chapters that I can't even remember half the ones it's like a blur. It's been quite a while since we actually worked on it. But that's what I found. The chapters that there's one or two that I was like, oh man, I'd really going to find it a struggle to do this chapter. Just because I didn't find it interesting. Those are probably ones where I learned more from because I was forcing myself to. Well, I had to make sure I knew it, thoroughly to make sure I was putting that into the book.
And
Yeah.
for folk that are kind of, studying for the exam, other than buying the book and, reading it page to page, any tips, like any kind of gotchas, any pain points like that you experienced when you were sitting it? What was the toughest part for you?
Studying for the exam, or passing the exam, or what are we talking?
Yeah, as far as the exam, like you go into
yeah.
some exams and there are certain parts that, you can wing it, that's easy. But there's always a gotcha, right?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I kind of didn't study for this exam. I'm not trying to showboat or anything like that, humble bragging. But as I said, I've been working with this technology for a lot of years, right? So the stuff that was in my exam, at least, kind of came naturally. Where I struggled a bit, where the retention part of things or the records management part of things, because it's easy to get that mixed up in your head, right? Especially when it comes to retention. What retention policy will apply first? So
retention wins over deletion and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Remembering all that. Yeah,
you
completely agree.
Even just the language, you get like retention policies, retention labels, retention label policies, and these are three different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all the while you're stuck in a small room, stressed out of your mind because you're writing an exam and you're trying to figure out, did it mean the label policy or the label or the policy itself? So yeah,
it is difficult, isn't it? I don't like the case studies. The case study questions really do my head in because they're so long. By the time you got to the end of the question, you've forgotten the start. And like, what was that again? And like,
I always like sit and click through the requirements each and every question. I was like, okay, this question is coupled with this requirement. Okay, so answer that, and then crap, I got to go back and look at the requirements and the current infrastructure again.
Yeah, and there's always PowerShell, isn't there? But in certainly compliance side of things, there's not as much PowerShell, I think, as there are in other areas of M365. There's DLP policies, and there's probably more than I think. Come to think of it, I'm probably talking nonsense, but it doesn't seem like there's as much. You find yourself gravitating more to the compliance center, I think, in general.
Yeah, especially when you look at the exam, it seems like they're kind of niching it towards an administrator of the kind that you're proficient enough to do it in the portal, and it's just a plus if you know how to do it the PowerShell way. That's not what you're measured on in the exam, as far as I'm aware.
Right. Cool. Kind of moving on from the exam and everything, as far as your MVP activities go individually, because I appreciate that you do have your own lives. You're not just this buddy comedy duo that go around with each other all day. I know, for example, I know that Shabaz, for example, I know that you're involved in the Bradford Cloud User Group. How did something like that come about? What kind of stuff do you guys talk about and present there?
So again, like most of my community activities, it's all started from Twitter. Everything seems to revolve around Twitter. When I've started, the relationships that I've made, including the one with Viktor, obviously, and the one with Imran and Mohammed Sajid as well. So they both reached out to me on Twitter. We all followed each other, and they were like, they're both local. Mohammed Sajid's in Bradford and Imran's in Halifax, just the next town over, and they just said, look, we want to start a user group for Bradford, because they both went to Bradford University, and it was just one of those things, because there was nothing for it, but there were some Leeds groups, but they said, there's nothing in Bradford, it's an untapped market, there's loads of people that we know that would be interested in something like that. Then we just started talking, we had a Teams call about it, and just built from there. We built it up, and we've tried to stay agnostic with it as well, so it's cloud. So we don't, we've had people talking about Microsoft, AWS, GCP, and what we try and do is we try and get, again, I don't want people to say this the wrong way, but you have people who generally come on quite a few of the user groups, and they're the more seasoned speakers, which is great, and they're obviously really interesting. They've got great topics. We wanted to try and hit people who are new or coming up and don't have that same exposure. So we've tried to get the newer speakers on where we can, and also try to mix it up as well. Try tried to keep it, inclusive and have both male and female speakers on if we can every month, so we don't just have an all male cast and all female cast. You know what I mean? Try and keep it like that. And again, we've had so much support from everybody within the community. So it's been a real pleasure running that, actually. Yeah.
That is such a great bit of advice that I got when I first started getting into the community and speaking, is start with a user group. It's a great place to cut your teeth, and not quite as intimidating as going into some of the bigger conferences, the virtual conferences, and then the in-person conferences. So my first speaking was at I think it was at the Leeds user group, actually.
Oh, wow. So was mine.
With Andrew Bettany and Matt Folks.
So I think theirs is the Microsoft 365 Leads one. I did the Azure one that Ryan Yates runs.
Oh, right, yeah. But I mean, I didn't do it in person. It was when it went to virtual. It was just at the very. That's how recent my community journey is. I just got started just as COVID got in our lives. So I've never actually spoken in person. Truth be told, I kind of like it this way. I kind of like the virtual, but everyone seems to prefer in person. But each to their own.
It depends, doesn't it? It's.
But what you just said there around, so the people who run that user group gave you the opportunity to do your first session, and I was given that same. Again, I don't know about you, Victor, but I was given that same nudge and that same helping hand up by Ryan, which I'm going to be eternally grateful for. And that's what we said we want to try and do with this user group, try and promote people who want to get into speaking or might have just spoken the odd time. I want to do it more and more and more. And that's what we try and do, get new people on. We feel it keeps it fresh as well. So yeah, that's exactly, somebody gave me that chance, and that's what me, Imran, and Mohammed Sajid tried to do, give other people the chance.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, it was absolutely terrible. I did a talk on Azure Information Protection, and surprise, and as I was talking along, I'd never even been to a user group before, and I was going through my slides, and I kept on pausing and sort of like asking everyone, the attendees, is this all right? Is this what you expect, sort of thing? Didn't have a clue what I was doing. But the funny thing is, as I've gone through my journey of speaking at events, I've now sort of come out the other side to the point where I don't actually want to do it anymore. I haven't spoken at an event for quite a while, and I've got nothing lined up. So I'm going to moderate at Teams Nation.
Why do you think that is? Bored of it, or just?
I don't know.
Is it like burnout?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I love doing this. I love doing the podcast. I love doing the blogs. I love doing all the other stuff that I get involved in. But I feel like I've got over speaking. I might get back to it, but I've got no motivation to apply for any at the minute.
I think you go through cycles. I think, Peter, I'm similar, but as far as mine's with my YouTube content, I did so much of it last year. I don't want to do any at the moment, and I'm kind of a little burnt out from it. And I'd rather do more speaking or podcast stuff. I don't want to do YouTube much anymore. I'm kind of having a bit of a break from it, if I'm honest. Going to get back to blogging and presenting.
Yeah, I get that, because I didn't touch my blog last year, 2021. I think I did 8 blogs, whereas in January so far this year I've done 26 so far, which going through this Microsoft 365 alphabet thing. But yeah, I think you're entirely right. I think you do go through cycles of things that you do and don't want to do. I'm loving YouTube and the podcasting and the blogging and all, and the user group that we do, Rue and I with Al early, the security and compliance one. But anyway, I'm hijacking your show. I'm talking about me. So
don't be that. It is our show, Pete. You know that.
About to say it's your show. Yeah.
But I mean, so you mentioned South Coast Summit. Am I right then? So I don't think that you spoke at it, Shabaz, but am I right that Victor, you did on Azure AD security defaults, things like that?
Yeah, and to be fair, Shabaz did speak at the South Coast Summit. So,
oh wow, there you go.
Yeah.
Shows how much attention I was paying.
Yeah, exactly.
I was sitting in my bed as South Coast Summit was going on. How did you guys find it anyway?
Oh, it was brilliant. It was, it was such a, everyone's been working from home for such a long time, and finally getting to meet all the people you're talking to on a a weekly, daily basis for community stuff, and finally getting to meet them face to face again after such a long time. For me at least, it was awesome. And there was like, no, I think the entire event was organized beautifully. So there was no, never any scares or any hiccups in the planning. At least from a participant point of view. I don't know if the guys behind the summit are still sleepless.
Oh, they're in good shape. Well, one half of them at least is, because I work very closely with Aaron. I work at CPS with Aaron, such a great guy, and how he and Nathan pulled that all together and made it the success it was when they'd never done anything like that before. Hats off to them. They did a fantastic job. I mean, they assembled a great team of backup to help organize behind the scenes, MVPs mainly. So they went to the right people to support them. I was just devastated I couldn't go in the end. I was supposed to be one of those people helping out, but in the end, for various reasons, I couldn't physically go. But
you got your jumper though, so it all worked
out. I did,
out.
yes. I felt guilty about that. I got my swag as part of the. I keep on telling Aaron I wear it all the time still, because I never pay for any clothes. I've not bought any new clothes in God knows how long. I've got about 16 plain black t-shirts, and every hoodie I've got is some sort of branded freebie. But I wear the South Coast Summit one all the time, and I tweet pictures of me wearing it, and I'll tag Aaron saying, "There you go, there's some publicity for you. I'm paying you back."
That's brilliant. I was just going to say, we know you're wearing it all the time, because we see it on Twitter.
yeah. I've got a go-to look. It's mainly basic black. I really must try and change it up a little bit. We've talked about getting Cloud Conversations branded stuff to wear on the shows, maybe some t-shirts or polos swag, or even hoodies. We should maybe get ourselves some swag and maybe do some giveaways as well for our listeners in some way, shape, or form. It's something we've talked about. I think would be good. I'm just not sure if the yellow would look too good on me. I suppose we could go black with the yellow logo.
Yeah,
I was about to say that. Yeah, you've got some black in there, so mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
You can't be an IT guy and wear anything colorful. It's just completely.
Well, you can, but if you're looking at the ones in this video call right now, I'm dressed in all, but actually I've got a gray T-shirt. So that's as far as color wise. I'm about to stretch today at least.
Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? But South Coast Summit, though, our dear friend and co-host Kat Greenan, she was lucky enough to be physically there, and she had an absolutely brilliant time. And we did a live episode of this with Kat physically there. Rue, you were at home. I was walking in a field at the time, holding up my iPhone. So it was that was great though. But Kat had a really good time. We said it was a great event.
So funny stuff. So myself and Victor started a bit of a podcast last year, and it's just voice only. It's not kind of like this in video. We just do voice only, and we actually tried to do. It's hilarious. We tried to do from there as well, because we knew we were both going to be there. Thought great, we'll do a special, and cover the event, and we'll release it. So they had an area for podcasting, which was up in the rafters somewhere.
Yeah.
In the rafters in the expo hall. So the noise was.
But that's not the best bit. That's not the best bit. They had some company do like one of those dance things where they're in the crowd. I can't remember what the phrase is for.
Oh yeah, the flash mob thing.
Flash mob. That was it. So literally, we are starting the podcast, and the flash mob starts, and it's just absolute chaos on the expo floor. So we after I think it was about 20 minutes, and we were like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to go somewhere else." So we ended up going to the reception of the Hilton. Was it Hilton Hotel?
Yeah.
We ended up going to the reception of the Hilton, which was fine. It wasn't noisy, but then we had loads of people like that we knew. Like Simon, and people like that, kind of trying to put us off in the background while we're trying to have this serious conversation. But yeah, that was quite a funny experience.
Good, cool. How are you finding the podcast, and what kind of stuff do you talk about? And we'll link to it in the show notes as well.
Well, we've done 3 episodes since September last year, something like that. We've both been heavily occupied elsewhere.
Absolutely, with the book.
Well, the book was finished when we started the
Oh, was it?
podcast. So,
Right.
yeah. So excuses. But
There's always plenty going on with MVP world, isn't there? But not to mention earning a living, your day job kind of gets in the way of all the fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, and my day job kind of turns into a night job and morning job and day job at some point. So but yeah, I'm finding it really it's a really fun experience as well. It's kind of challenging, trying to come up with ideas on what to talk about, trying to find guests. We actually have a really interesting guest scheduled for our next episode. We don't really know when it's going to be released yet, but I can give you guys a little teaser. It's one of my dear colleagues at Trusec, and she's been working for the military security service in Sweden for a lot of years. So she's focusing on an area we call human threat intelligence.
Yeah.
So basically, she's a spy, talking about spy stuff.
Wowza.
Yeah,
I am going to want to listen to this. This is going to
we have this. We have a joke where we don't call her by her real name. We call her Jane because she's
yeah, spy stuff. So awesome. Well, you must link us to the show, and we'll have to I'll certainly have to catch up on your 3 episodes to date, and I will look forward to hearing that one for sure. It sounds brilliant. Interesting, actually. Where do you publish that? Are you on Spotify or Apple Music, and why the choice to just go audio only? I'm interested in that decision.
Well, we said that we're starting out audio only, and let's see how things progress. If we get like a lot of listeners, if there's interest in having a video conversation instead, or a video and audio conversation, let's build on that. But let's start with using Acast as our platform and just try to get the word out in our different social networks, and let's see what kind of traction we can build upon that. So that's where we are right now, and who knows what the future holds.
Absolutely.
Nice.
It'll take you in all sorts of different journeys, won't it, Rue? Because when we started this, it was just you and I to begin with, and now we're a 4-strong team with Azure and Kat as part of our team now as well. And we had no idea how it was going to go. The first episode, we didn't have a clue what we're doing. Probably still don't in many ways, but
we didn't either. We were just two mates having a chat, basically. And
yeah,
you just got to start. You don't need to have an end goal in mind. You don't really need to think it through. It's like
exactly
just start and have fun.
And that I was going to say that when we were talking about the user group experience kind of thing, because from my point of view, I always get really nervous. No matter if it's a user group presentation or if an in-person, but just get going and things will get, it'll come naturally to you. So that's my biggest.
To be perfect from day one.
No.
Exactly.
The first one I did in English was actually the security and compliance user group with you guys, Peter and Al, and I was like,
and I remember my God, at the time.
Yeah, this is not my first language. This is like my first time presenting, and I was like, yeah, whatever. Let's just do it.
And you were awesome. You were absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
I always feel really quite guilty in this country, whether in the UK, we're the laziest country in the world for not attempting to speak other languages as a general rule of thumb, because I guess English has evolved into the international business language. We're very, very fortunate that quite a lot of the rest of the world speaks it and is willing to speak it. But it does make you feel lazy at times. But then again, you think to yourself, well, if I did learn another language, which one do you choose? So it's interesting.
Try Finnish. It's one of the hardest ones to learn.
Yeah, I can well believe it. I know Dutch is quite hard to learn as well. My late mother, she learned Dutch because we had family move over there when I was little, and she tried learning it, and she said it was a very challenging language to learn.
I always love that joke that, just talking about Finnish there, I always love that joke that Sammy Leho makes about the Finnish for just like the word administrator is like 300 characters long.
Järjestämän velvoja. Something like
spot
that.
on. And he's like, it looks like a great password, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's basically administrator.
Absolutely. Finnish always makes me think of Formula One drivers. There's a lot of good F1
It makes
drivers.
me think
isn't
of
there?
death metal. There's a lot of good death metal coming out of Finland.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
There's a lot of good death metal and black metal coming out of Sweden as well. So.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I'd be remiss. I don't want to overshadow your nation's accomplishments there. Dismember. Enough said.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I get, thinking back a second there, Victor, you mentioned, the day job kind of bleeds into the night and the morning.
Yeah.
And I guess, when you're working security, to be honest, whenever you work in IT, that just comes with the territory. What kind of threats and stuff are you mostly seeing folks having to deal with? Mentioned earlier, Azure AD, out the box, kind of crappy security, not as bad as it used to be, but it's okay. Is it Azure AD stuff, or does it spill over everywhere else?
Honestly, the bulk of our incident response engagement the last year has been like vulnerabilities in different platforms. So we had like the Kaseya breach, which was a huge eye opener for a lot of companies, but the even bigger ones are like the proxy shell or the proxy logon kind of stuff for Exchange. Those have been massive when it comes to like incident response engagements. Well, any way you can like elevate your permissions to become local administrator or even domain administrator, that's the one that the bad guys are looking for. So we're combating the ransomware groups based out of wherever they're based this day and age on a daily basis. So the focus needs to be shifted, because the phishing, of course, is a bad thing as well, but it's not as prolific in this day and age as the vulnerabilities of different platforms, to be honest.
Ransomware interests me a great deal in the sense that, Rue, I know you in recent times have had a couple of customers who have been targeted successfully by ransomware. In my encounters with customers, fortunately, touch wood, I've never had a customer who's succumbed to it. But what interests me is if I did have a customer who came to me, and I'm not sure I'd know where to start on how to advise them. What would you say on how to recover from something like that? Or is there occasions where if they're not backing up and getting systems in place to prepare for that, they don't recover from that? What would you say to that?
So how we usually, I can't diverge all the details, of course, but
of course,
what we regularly do is that we basically, when you call us at TrueSec, it's like calling the police or like the SWAT team. This is a crime scene. We need to isolate it, and that's what one of the first things we do. We lock it down. Only we can access it. We are the only ones with the like domain admin or equivalent permissions.
Yeah.
And from then on, we just we'll look at their old infrastructure as contaminated. We won't touch that. We won't reuse that in any way. So we'll build a brand new infrastructure in parallel to that one and try to get as much data as possible over from it, with data that we know is clean, of course.
Yeah.
So backing up Active Directory, spinning up a new domain controller, getting all the passwords reset, all the Kerberos tickets reset, stuff like that.
Yeah. And it does so much of it, as far as the prevention of it goes, so much of it does boil down to the fundamentals,
Yeah.
It's like,
we're talking like Red Forest design on a daily basis. I've got like 4 concurrent projects at this time, tiering an Active Directory. People aren't doing their homework from like 20 years ago.
Yeah, spot on. And it's easy to get distracted by all the shiny new features and things that something like
exactly
Hive can give you. But as an example, if you've got, unpatched Exchange servers out there with, that can easily compromise through OpenRDP, stuff like that. It's the basics, right?
Yeah.
So you can spend all the money you want on E5 licensing, like you said, go back 20 years, what worked then and will often still work now, right?
Yeah, and that's why I had my talk on Azure AD and the default settings at the South Coast Summit. I've also had it in Swedish in one of my company's conferences since, because I'm getting kind of tired and fed up with all the, oh, we got this brand new EDR platform. It'll totally, it'll change the world. But if you don't go back to the basics, the fundamentals of cybersecurity, you're still going to get hit.
Yeah, for sure.
What an EDR platform is that it's basically a log forwarder for your computer into an AI solution, telling you, oh, this guy is doing stuff. But if the EDR platform can read your log files, then the threat actor can read your log files as well.
Yep.
I think the vendors have a bit of a responsibility as well. Victor, we were talking about this the other day, and Rue, I've seen you tweet about this as well. The recent Teams feature.
Don't get me started.
There you go. I've not even said it, and they both know what I'm talking about.
So bad. It's so bad.
But that's my point. That's such a security risk. Don't vendors have a bit of a responsibility as well to not release features like that are just asking for trouble?
They do, yes. Especially when these vendors will boast about zero trust being the foundation of their approach to security, right? And then stuff like that happens.
Yeah,
it's shocking.
Just for everyone's benefit listening, what's the incident you're talking about?
Yeah.
I know what it is because I saw you tweet about it. So what is it in Teams that?
So basically, Microsoft came out with information, like, was it Wednesday, Thursday,
something like that.
Something like that, where they said, like, okay, we're gonna open federation towards any IDP when it comes to Teams. Yeah. So what that means is that I can get a new Hotmail account and start phishing people through Teams. If you're not, closing down your federation, trusting specific domains, stuff like that, which no one else is doing. Like maybe military contractors, those kind of corporations have a really lockdown environment. But in most cases, like just take in Sweden, for example, and I'm hoping that no one will get any bad ideas from this, but all the municipalities, government entities, we have this thing, a law in Sweden called, well, basically it's like a public sector law. Information is public and you have the right to contact any government entity in any way, shape, or form. So they're all openly federated.
Right.
That's just trouble waiting to happen, basically.
Yep. And the problem with this particular instance is it was on by default, right? So it's not like federation for consumers to contact businesses. It's on by default, both inbound and outbound. And it also, the alleged safeguards they put in place. So I'm in an organizational account. I get a Teams message from a consumer account. It's supposed to pop up and say, hey, this is a consumer trying to contact you. Do you want to proceed? Do you want to accept the message? However, that splash screen, that boundary, if it's a group message, it never shows up. So it's such a trivial bypass. And you just kind of shake your head and you think, if a company with this amount of resource can't get that right, what does that say about the culture of the company?
Completely against the principles of zero trust, isn't it? Completely.
Never trust, always verify, except on Teams.
Except on Teams, we want Teams to be as open as possible. But
you had the same kind of issue with Skype for Business as well, because you had the opportunity or the availability to actually openly federate with all the MSID, so all the Outlook, Hotmail, stuff like that. But this is a bigger one because they're enabling it tenant-wide, worldwide, and the opt-in is removed. It's an opt-out kind of feature instead,
and that's going to catch a lot of people out for sure, isn't it? So spreading awareness, as you did with your tweet, Rue, is a very, very important message. I think I retweeted that. If I didn't, I'm going to make sure I go and do so.
I actually retweeted it as well, but I didn't write anything. I just put a big GIF with it saying that don't. This is a bad idea. I'm just tired of these kind of getting back to basic. Even the vendors can't do it right, And look
yeah.
at us. We're 4 MVPs basically bashing Microsoft for this, but
it has to be done. Quite frankly,
Yeah.
Not unusual. Not unusual.
But that's our role, isn't it? To call out
Exactly.
where we see flaws. That's
Yeah.
why we're here, isn't it?
We're meant to
Absolutely
challenge,
is.
aren't we?
Yeah, 100%.
Challenge in a
100%.
constructive way, hopefully.
Yeah. You talk to any of the program managers or PMs at Microsoft, and at least to your face, they'll tell you, "Oh no, we want all the criticism you can give us because it keeps us doing the right thing." This particular example though is just so damaging to any reputation they could have as being secure by default, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
And one thing, just kind of circling back, because I'm going to rewind a wee bit here, because Shabaz, you mentioned something that I wanted to pick up on at the time, but we quickly shot past it. And you mentioned how you were kind of getting burnt out of the YouTube thing. And me being in my little security bubble, I don't deal too much with actually setting up on-prem infrastructure and all that kind of thing. I'm a little bit out of the loop. But I know that one of the pieces that you worked on was a series of YouTube videos on Azure VMware style stuff.
Yeah.
Now, in my head, again, being totally out the loop of anything really to do with that level of infrastructure, I'm thinking Azure VM, oxymoron, how you know what I mean? Two completely different vendors, one's on-prem, one's cloud.
Yeah.
Talk me through that. What was that about?
So I was very lucky in that. So the way, again, like most things, how these things have a story behind them. I wanted to do. I'm an on-premises historical bod. That's where I started in support and then got into cloud. So VMware, I've known, I learned very early on in my career, and I know I could, I enjoyed it. Obviously, then got into cloud and Azure, and then obviously I saw VMware on Azure, kind of a big sort of release. So I wanted to do some playing with it myself. Problem is that the trials are very difficult to get, and it was just generally very difficult to try and get any sort of licenses for it. So I reached out to Shannon Keane, who works with Microsoft, and she's quite a lot on Twitter. Big shout out to Shannon. And I said, "Oh, do you reckon I could get?" Because that was her area of expertise. She was working on and doing a lot of content around it as well. So I just said to Shannon, "Is there any way I can get some access, because I really want to do some content?" He says, "Well, the license is very hard to get on, but I've got some that I use. Do you want to do a collaboration?" So I was like, "Yeah, excellent." And the whole premise around it is it's not for you to provision, or use it straight into the cloud. It's for organizations that already have a footprint on premises of VMware, but they want to start using workloads, and they've got services they want to utilize in the cloud but integrate with their VMware. So what they can do is they can start migrating workloads into AVS, or Azure for VMware solution, and then start to integrate those once they're in the cloud with other services like the monitoring and the backups and all the sort of IaaS sort of solutions. So it's more of a hybrid service, I would say. It's not going to appeal to customers who want to use VMware in the cloud. It's if you've already got an existing VMware infrastructure, to migrate some of those workloads into AVS, and then utilize all those Azure IaaS sort of solutions that at the moment you probably can't if you're just on premises. So that's kind of what it's there. Sorry,
so does it enable stuff like, just as an example, is it stuff like you get like Azure recovery services and things like that for VM?
All that sort of stuff, yeah, exactly, yeah. Cool. So you can utilize all that once you kind of got it into the cloud. And again, it's not like migrating everything into the cloud. It's having that hybrid. So you've got VMware on premises, and you've also got kind of that leg into the cloud, and you can manage it all from AVS as well. So even your on premises ESXi hosts and all those VMs, you can. And again, using all that VMware technology, you can migrate them easily. It's just like having another site. Think of it as another physical location. So you have a replication site somewhere physical. It's just like having one of those in VMware terms, and you can move VMs from site to site. With one of the VMware services. Won't come to my head now. But yeah, and again, because I had that VMware sort of background, I just really wanted to do some content on it, and And it was just again another really enjoyable collaboration with Shannon. It was great to work with her on it. We did it kind of zero to hero, so I was a zero because obviously it's quite a new service, and Shannon had done obviously a lot of work in the background on it. So Shannon was the hero in this case, and it was really good to work on. And again, I learned loads of stuff because there's a lot, there was a lot of sort of features that are new to VMware since I've worked on it that I wasn't too familiar with. And just seeing how to provision it again, because I didn't have any access to it myself, just seeing how to provision it. And don't get me wrong, it's very expensive. That is one thing I will say. It's very, very expensive. So I think it's not going to be, you're not going to see your medium to small size, customers going to it.
Right.
But I think some of your larger enterprises definitely, I can see some use cases with it.
Okay, cool. No, sounds good. And so ask another silly question. How does, because you also have this thing, like you have Azure Arc, right? That also lets you extend some control over Azure resources into on-prem, and you can use it to deploy stuff like Defender for Cloud to on-prem stuff. How does that come into things or not come into things?
So that's more protective monitoring, I think, isn't it? More than I think without. So you can do that anyway. I think with Azure for on-premises, you can protect on-premises VMs as well, because you can just download like an agent and stuff like that. So I think without VM, the AVS, you could use Azure Arc integrate anyway. So yeah, that would already be available, I would think. But it's stuff like, I suppose, what VMware's a great solution, but what I don't think it has out of the box is those monitoring and alerting capabilities. So I think integrating it with Azure and all those, this is what I say to a lot of people, especially when it comes to like VDI. So VDI is a big thing of mine, Azure Virtual Desktop. And the conversation always, you have vendor against vendor. Why Azure Virtual Desktop over Citrix or VMware Horizon? And the argument I always give is, well, as a VDI solution, AVD isn't any different from anything else. What makes it different is all the stuff you can integrate it with after you've implemented it. So the monitoring, alerting, protective monitoring, the automation, and all that side of it. That's where, for me, it beats those other solutions. And the same with AVS. Once you get those VMware workloads into AVS, you then start getting your usage where you get all these other features that are part of Azure that you can just integrate with it without any real extra cost.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's Microsoft's target, right? It's the integration platform, right? You don't always guarantee the best of breed thing. Same with Defender for Endpoint, but you're getting that larger platform, right? Cool. Good stuff.
What do you make of Windows 365?
It's not a fan, if I'm honest.
Not a fan.
No,
I've not looked at it in any great detail yet, so I've got no preconceived notions. I'm just interested to see.
Is it the cost, or because
that is one of the things? No, it's not. And so Azure Virtual Desktop is obviously consumption based, like most of the IaaS products. When my Windows 365 came out, the fact it was sort of the monthly subscription model was great. It'd make that technology more. Again, I thought when you read it, it sounds like it's aimed at small to medium businesses. So you've got the two levels. You've got the sort of you've got the business and you've got the enterprise sort of variations. The business variation is very limited as far as you don't have much access to the back end. It's probably aimed at companies that don't have any IT or very little IT to manage the infrastructure. So you think, okay, small to medium business. But then the price is you don't just have your Microsoft 365 licensing that you need for the VDI element. You also have its own Windows 365 subscription you need on top of that as well. So it's like doubling the cost. What would have made sense to me was, okay, why don't you release an E7 or something like that integrates it? Because they did that with AVD. They added AVD into Windows, Microsoft 365 Business Premium and above. And that's why it's been such a good uptake of AVD. Whereas Windows 365, not a lot of businesses have taken it up just because it's just...
Don't give them any ideas of new licensing models, Shabaz.
No,
sorry. All the words from
no, this is not a bad thing though, because if you think about the most recent show that we had out, 2 shows ago from this, we had Alex Fields on, and he was a massive influence on getting what was it, Defender for Business as part of E3, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Business
right.
Premium. So again, that's how the system's meant to work. We're meant to feed back our thoughts on these things to Microsoft and say, "Oi, what you playing at with this? Sort it out." And,
I just didn't want like an E7.
Well,
no, I agree.
Would anyone be surprised at this stage?
No.
I'm just waiting for the next name change. I'm still trying to wrap my tongue around saying Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps instead of Cloud App Security.
I miss MCAS so much.
Again, sorry, going back to the book. Literally, we finished our chapter.
Oh yeah.
And Microsoft went and changed everything. And we had a mass panic on. Literally, we were on WhatsApp like, "Oh my god, we have to literally rewrite the whole book. Why have they done this?" Luckily,
not too much changed for information protection, did it?
No, it didn't. A bit of naming.
We do have one chapter where we're a subsection of the chapter. I think it was one of yours, wasn't it, Shabaz? Where the chapter itself is talking about cloud app security. So we needed to update some, some headers, some stuff like that. But other than that, we came out of it kind of scot-free, thankfully.
Any screenshot changes required?
No,
because I had that on one of my titles.
We had it like one of the discussions, like, there's this screenshot where you can see, the cloud app security logo. And I was like, well, they haven't updated the UI yet. So, and
the portal's still the same, isn't it? It's still portal.cloudappsecurity.com, isn't it?
Yeah. The URL is still the same, but the UI has changed since. So now it says Defender for Cloud Apps.
Defender for Cloud Apps.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for, Defender for or unformatted text instead of Notepad, or Defender for bit images in Paint, or
you still see loads of places in the UI though where they are still using the old names. You go to the security portal, it still talks about Azure ATP, which is 2 years ago.
Yeah, and that kind of goes for a lot of Microsoft products out there. I've been working with MIM a lot, Microsoft Identity Manager, and the service in MIM, which keeps the stuff running, is still called MIS or MIIS, which was the first instance. And I know for a fact that on Config Manager, you still have some of the, what is it, SMS?
Yes, all over it.
Yep.
The directories are all SMS.
Yep. Exactly.
Victor, I think someone from Microsoft's going to see this podcast and we're going to get our MVPs revoked, We'll do nothing but slag them off.
That's all I do this whole show.
We're not slagging them off. We're just saying that, if you're going to rebrand it properly.
It's constructive criticism.
I just finished writing a blog that as I was writing it, I was like, oh dear, is this the time I want to be publishing this? But so we'll see what happens. So anyway, again, the thing we always like to catch up with guests on about is because everyone's a workaholic in the kind of field that we're in, right? Especially when you get that MVP badge. Other than the work stuff, how do you guys zone out, chill out, pursue other interests, if you have any? Because you could be like me and just not.
I'll go first. I mean, so my content is my hobby. I'll be honest, that's what happened to me during COVID. It became a hobby of mine, and I really do enjoy doing it. But you're right. I personally feel like you do have to have other interests. My interests are my family. So I spend a lot of time, we do stuff with my kids. My son plays football on a weekend, so I'll take him to train. I'll take him to his matches. Play football myself as well. Play five-side. Me and Victor are both Manchester United fans, which is what we also bond over. So I go. I've not got a season ticket yet, but I'm on a waiting list. So I go watch my United play when I can, and just stuff like that. Really, I suppose. So I'm pushing on 40. I suppose it's family and my main, outside of work and stuff like that. That's where I kind of put my time. That's what I enjoy.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the same kind of goes for me. Spending time with my family. I also play football. I play 11-a-side, so I'm actually playing football, not like Shabaz. But trying to. It kind of helps with keeping my mind fresh if I'm trying to keep my body as fresh as possible as well. Trying to find somewhere we can recharge our batteries. And for me, that seems to be 2-3 hours a week of football training, basically. And besides that, spending time with my family, my wife, and my two beautiful sons, even though they totally get on my nerves at some point. I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they're just as much work as a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old should be. But I don't know how many times I've kicked them out of this little room, which is my home office. I'm like, "Dad is in a meeting. Get out." And they're like, "Oh, I need your help with this. So I need. Can you get me a sandwich?" And I'm like, "No, get out."
This is one of the advantages of working in the bathroom. There's a lock on the door.
Oh yeah.
I do hope you have more than one bathroom in your house, Peter. Though, 'cause that's
we got 3.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we're all right.
3 bathrooms. 3 bathrooms.
Well, three rooms with a toilet in it, shall we say? This is the main bathroom, which nobody uses. I don't think anybody in the nearly 10 years we've been in this house has ever been in that. No, the boys have when they were younger, but everyone has showers now. So this room is dead on arrival, really. It's useless. So we've got ensuite shower room and downstairs toilet as well. So three toilets, shall we say? I'm talking a lot about toilets in this episode.
It's kind of silent, so it's obviously going to be a key topic, I think.
Yeah,
exactly. The tagline for the episode: the SC-400 book, what you do for a living, and toilets.
Toilets, yes. Toilets 365.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's great. And football, though, you're both Manchester United fans. So what's your assessment of the state of Manchester United as things go? Because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out recently, a temporary manager or a interim manager right now, whose name I can't quite remember. Yeah. What's your thoughts, and who do you think is going to be able to take the club forward?
Do you want to go first? I'll be all day.
Yeah, me too. I think the biggest issue with Man United this season is that they brought back Cristiano Ronaldo only because they didn't want him to sign for City, and that's one of the biggest reasons. And there's a lot of hanging heads. They don't seem like they're enjoying what they're doing, and I think that's one of the things that needs to change. They need to have some kind of mentality change. We have seen some of it as of late. The last couple of matches has been really, really good. Brentford away, second half was absolutely brilliant. And the match against West Ham just last weekend was, end to end, a pretty good, solid effort. Kind of bums you out that you need to wait until like the 3rd minute of stoppage time to get that goal. But yeah, I don't know. Manager change, not sure. I'm not super happy with how Rangnick has run the team so far. Maybe Pochettino wants to get out of PSG and come join Man United. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think they need to actually add any players. They have a lot of talent. So they just need to get some value from those players, basically.
Yeah, cool. I mean, this is a topic me and Victor speak about on most of our weekly calls. And I agree with Victor. There's nothing wrong with Ronaldo. He's still one of the best players in the world, but he just wasn't the right person to bring in for that Manchester United team. This is the same team that essentially came second last year, and they brought in good players like Varane and Sancho. So they have brought in world-class players. So they should be stronger, but the dynamic of the team has been lost, and it's because Ronaldo is one of those players that you have to play to get the best out of him. You have to play through him. That doesn't suit the way Manchester United play and the tactics they're playing. But yeah, we'll see. I can see quite a few people leaving. If I'm honest with you, next season, Ronaldo will be one of those. I feel if they don't get Champions League, he'll leave. Pogba will leave. And again, these are amazing players, but whether or not they're the right people for Manchester United is another thing. But it's always fun to watch. It's always fun to watch.
It's always something to talk about, isn't it, in football? I always feel as someone who's admired Manchester United over the years, especially in the 90s, and that's hard for me to say because I'm a Newcastle fan. We missed out on on the 95-96 title, and that still hurts. But yeah, but Alex Ferguson, greatest manager of
no doubt.
Premier League history, if not all time, in my humble opinion. And you'd never really recovered from his retirement, to be honest. But how do you replace someone like him?
Yeah, you can't, can you? Really? It's like anything, you know. Teams evolve, and I just don't think this man, since Ferguson left, they've just tried to play that brand of football, and you can't. How can you play the brand of football, you know, that he used to play? It's not, that was his way of playing. And I think managers have come in and found it difficult to, even Ragniak's having that same problem. He's tried to bring in his brand of football, and it's just not worked at all.
Well, he has left the 4-2-2-2-2 lineup, at least.
Yes, thank God for that.
But you know, playing the kind of defensive football that Ferguson was really all about in the 90s and the early 2000s, that's really not how football works this day. So
no, it's completely changed. You couldn't play like that now, no doubt about it. But that was so effective. I mean, that 95-96 title, which ultimately Manchester United deserved, all really hinged on one game. It was 1-0 to Manchester United at St James's Park, and Newcastle, I think we battered Schmeichel's goal. It's like he had a force field in front of him that evening, and then 1-0 Cantona with the one shot of the game. But you won so many games in that style to win that title, and you can't argue with that.
I see. Rue is totally zoned out.
Rue is zoned out. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the difference between a football and a paperback book. It's just over on my head.
Yeah, but spare a thought for me though when you worry about how state of Manchester United is. I think it's hard being a Newcastle fan. It's never dull, but it's not easy.
So you've got some money now, so it'll be exciting. At least every transfer window, you'll be always talked about. And always,
if they manage to cling on to a Premiership spot, then sure.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the frustrating thing about this. That years and years we've waited for the club to be taken over, and when it finally happens, Mike
you're third from the bottom.
Parting shot. He leaves us in the worst possible position where we might have to go down first, and hey, money's no guarantee of coming straight back up. So who knows? We shall see. We shall see how it works out. But I like Eddie Howe, though. I think he's a good, promising manager, and I think it's a good appointment. So fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Anyway, we'll get Rue out of this now, because he's obviously daydreaming about security, defender-related things. Just
that's just what I do. You know what I mean? Sitting here dreaming about Steve Ballmer. Yeah.
Developers. I could probably do the sweat.
I have one of the greatest teams backgrounds known to man. So you know the scene from Jurassic Park where I forget the character name, the Sam Neill one. It's trying to lure the T-Rex away with the flare. So instead of Sam Neill, it's Steve Ballmer running away with the flare.
I love it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I had that background on when I met some product manager from Microsoft, and they were just bursting with laughter. It was a high note.
Yeah, he was so entertaining, Steve Ballmer, wasn't he? Probably unintentionally, but
the release party of the let's do this.
He's like the kind of guy you would see in Fight Club. You know what I mean? Intense. You know what I mean? So good. So good.
Yeah, one of my favorite clips when he runs on the stage like an absolute lunatic, and there's a bit where you blink and you miss it, but he actually twists his ankle in the process when he's running on, and he just completely ignores it. He just goes, "Oh," and just gets on with it. It's so funny.
Love it.
Dedication.
Yeah.
Developers. What a legend. Anyhow, we had best let you guys get back to your families and your weekends. Thank you for taking the time to spend your Saturday afternoon to record this with us. This goes out on Fridays. But any final words before we wrap up?
Just from me personally, thank you very much for inviting us. One thing I wanted to say is it has been great to see how your show has grown. Obviously, it started off with the two of you, and now you've got an even big. Your team's grown, and so it's just amazing to see how well you're both doing with this podcast. And just keep it up. It's a great show. Thank you for doing it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Appreciate
that means
mate.
a lot.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and the same goes for me. I've been talking to at least Peter on coming on this show because I've listened to you guys a couple of times, and I really enjoyed this, and I want to thank you guys so very much for having us. And if there's anyone else out there wanting to listen to, you see, Shabaz, you always miss this, even in our own podcast. you forget to name drop our own podcast while we're in it. So
go for it.
Our podcast is called "What's in IT for Me." So yeah, that's a lame dad joke. IT for me.
IT for me.
Yeah. So we have our own Twitter page set up. Feel free to follow it, and we're hoping to create some more awesome content for you listeners.
Amazing. We will certainly link to that in the show notes as well, and give that some love. So thank you so much. Reminds me to do my bit of promotion as well. Please do follow us on Twitter at CloudCons365. Awful handle, but what can you do? YouTube, we are at youtube.com/c/cloud conversations. And please subscribe to the channel. You don't know how much that helps us to grow it and get the message out there and people to find us. So your support means a lot to us. But thank you so much. Rue, any final thoughts from you?
No, just again, pleasure to meet you guys. Good luck with the book. Hope you have a good success, good launch with it. We'll link to Amazon so that everyone can buy it, and we'll also link to your YouTube. Sorry, not your YouTube show, your podcast in the show notes as well.
Yeah. Oh, and Pact are going to love us. Actually, with two shows in a row, we can link to Pact on the tweets and all that good stuff because they're going to be very happy with us.
Definitely.
Good folks over. Big shout out to Pact. Really nice people to work with. Yeah. Okay, let's wind this one up. Take care all, and we'll see you very, very soon again on the next exciting episode of Cloud Conversations. Who knows who it'll be? It might be me and Kat or Rue and Azure. You just never know what you're going to get with this rotating team that we've got now. So stay tuned, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.